In the mid-first 8th century, Marblehead was a prosperous trading village full of merchants and fishermen. Seeking his fortune, Jeremiah Lee arrived in 1743. Investing in ships and fish flakes, Lee built a successful business trading salted cod for the European goods so prized by colonists. He also purchased property throughout town. Along with his growing wealth, Lee quickly established himself as a leading citizen, serving in numerous roles, including colonel of the town's militia. In 1745, Lee married Martha Swett, the daughter of a wealthy Marblehead merchant. Little is known about her life before and after marriage. She gave birth to 9 children, though only 6 survived to adulthood. As revolutionary fervor swelled in the colonies, Lee took on an active role in the rebel cause. He served on the Committee of Supplies, using his international trading contacts to procure weapons and gunpowder from as far afield as Spain for the rebel storehouses in Concord and elsewhere. Lee was a member of the First Provincial Congress in 1774. He was invited to join the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia, but declined the invitation in order to look after his businesses at home. Despite the political unrest, Jeremiah and Martha continued to look toward the future. In 1757, the Lees began buying up properties along the main highway, now Washington Street, to build a new home of their own. By now, Lee was the richest man in Marblehead and possibly the entire colony. His mansion, built from 1766 to 1768, became the embodiment of that wealth. Tragically, Jeremiah Lee spent only 7 short years in his home. He became ill on the literal eve of the Revolutionary War. On April 18, 1775, Lee met with John Hancock, Samuel Adams, and other leading patriots at a tavern. Lee took a room for the night while Hancock and Adams made their way to Lexington to stay with Hancock's uncle. That night, British troops marched out of Boston toward Concord to capture the very stores of guns and ammunition that Lee had helped procure. The Army's path took it right past the tavern, where Lee and 2 other Marbleheaders, Elbridge Gerry and Azor Orne, were staying. In the middle of the night, Lee awakened to find the British soldiers searching the inn. Lee, Gerry, and Orne, clad only in their nightshirts, ran out the back door and hid in the fields. It was a frigid evening and Lee became feverish. His health rapidly declined, and he was brought to a house in Newton to recover, but it was not to be. Lee died on May 10, 1775, at the age of 54. His death was a tragic loss to the Patriot cause. Unfortunately, in the confusion and tumult of the new conflict, Jeremiah Lee's important role in the revolutionary movement was quickly forgotten. Jeremiah Lee's untimely death left Martha and his family to pay off Lee's many creditors. With his vessels trapped in port, Lee's estate became insolvent. If not for the dower laws of the day, Martha would have been forced to abandon the mansion. She was able to stay, though in far reduced circumstances. Indeed, she continued to live off and on in the mansion, though occupying only a few of its 18 rooms. Martha died in 1791 at the age of 62. Both she and Jeremiah are buried 6 on the grounds of Marblehead's Second Congregational, now the Unitarian Universalist Church. Unfortunately, their grave markers were covered by a 20th century addition to the church. The greater tragedy, though, is that despite his crucial role as a financier and leader of the nascent revolutionary cause, Jeremiah is rarely remembered in the annals of the Revolution and colonial America. The Lees' house was not just any home, but one grander than any other in Marblehead. It rivaled the English estates that Lee and his merchant counterparts looked to as the epitome of Georgian refinement and elegance. Lee purportedly spent £10,000, approximately $2.4 million in today's dollars, to build his astounding 3-story, 18-room mansion, a scale unseen in the little town. Even after Jeremiah's death, the mansion remained the grandest home in Marblehead. As such, it became the town's unofficial meeting place. The list of important personages who graced its halls is an impressive one, including George Washington, the Marquis de Lafayette, James Monroe, and Andrew Jackson, to name a few. Lee spared no expense when it came to ornamenting and embellishing the mansion. After the Lee mansion was sold to pay off Jeremiah's debts, the house's story takes an unusual turn, one that might arguably be credited with preserving its historic character. The creditors sold the house to the newly chartered Marblehead Bank in 1804. For the next 100 years, the building was home to two banks, a marine insurance company, a lawyer, two local clubs, and the families of the bank's head cashiers. Hardly anything was altered over the years, leaving much of the original building intact. Sadly, no interior images of the mansion exist from before 1898, but written records provide insight into day-to-day life in the building. Samuel Treffry served as head cashier for the Marblehead Bank from 1829 until his death in 1855. He and his wife, Sarah, 13 children, and an Irish servant girl lived in the mansion. In fact, his wife probably gave birth to 8 of their children in the house. As an old man, Treffry's son, Stephen, shared his reminiscences of life in the mansion with his own son, who fortunately wrote down the stories. Through these memories, the mansion comes alive. Stephen recalled turkeys roasting in the kitchen hearth, a menagerie of pets, cranky old sea captains with their spyglasses in the cupola, the aloof lawyer whose office was on the second floor, and bank patrons who came in and out of the front room all day long. Without these entertaining stories, much of the 19th century would be an unknown period in the mansion's history. It was not until the turn of the 20th century that the mansion was threatened with destruction. After the Marblehead Bank failed, the building was put up for auction in 1909. The rumor spread through town that an antiquities dealer planned to purchase the mansion to dismantle it and disperse its fine Georgian features to buyers from around the country. The Marblehead Historical Society, incorporated in 1898, sent up a rallying cry to save the iconic Lee Mansion. It hosted numerous events to raise money to purchase the historic house, including bake sales and tea parties. Even children saved their pennies to help save the mansion. By the day of the auction, June 23, 1909, the Society had raised sufficient funds to purchase the building for $5,500. As the home of the Historical Society, the house entered its latest phase, a museum celebrating Marblehead's storied past. The Society, now the Marblehead Museum, has spent over 100 years restoring and preserving this landmark, ensuring its survival as a testament to Jeremiah Lee and all the Marbleheaders who made the town what it is today. The Marblehead Historical Society obtained the mansion along with much of Jeremiah Lee's original property in 1909. The Society quickly set about adding or restoring walls and fences, removing invasive plants, and beautifying the grounds. Since 1936, the Marblehead Garden Club has overseen landscaping and upkeep of the grounds. Members added an 18th century-inspired herb garden, as well as beautiful plantings throughout. Their attention to historical detail and generosity of spirit ensure that the Lee Mansion Gardens are a highlight of any visit to the mansion. Though little has changed over the years, it is interesting to compare photographs of the mansion over time. The earliest pictures of the interior, taken in 1898, show a rundown, tired, desolate building. Upon acquiring the home, the Historical Society set about revitalizing the aging house. This work continues to the present day, since the Marblehead Historical Society, now Marblehead Museum, purchased the Lee Mansion in 1909. The organization has continually sought to better understand the mansion in order to best maintain it. The goal is always to respect and preserve the history of the building while ensuring its safety and durability. Restoring and protecting a 250-year-old building is a continual process. Every year brings new challenges for this historic house. Routine maintenance is no longer simply routine, but rather vital to sustaining a stable environment for the lasting preservation of the building. Marblehead Museum is the nonprofit organization that is responsible for the upkeep of the Lee Mansion. In the coming years, the museum will continue to rely on donations from individuals and businesses in order to protect the mansion and ensure its survival for generations to come. thank you for joining us on this tour of the Jeremiah Lee Mansion. This 18th century marvel is a testament to Marblehead's rich maritime history and colonial America's elegance. As we've explored the mansion's intricately designed rooms, we've uncovered stories of the Lee family's life, love, and legacy. From its stunning architecture to its beautifully preserved furnishings, every detail reveals the sophistication of a bygone era. The Jeremiah Lee Mansion is a must-visit destination for history enthusiasts, architecture buffs, and anyone seeking a glimpse into America's storied past. Before you go, consider visiting the nearby Marblehead Museum to deepen your understanding of the region's history, exploring Marblehead's charming shops, galleries, and waterfront, returning seasonally to experience the mansion's changing exhibits and events. Join us again soon for more historical explorations.